Hi, and welcome to today's DIY. I'm Jen from Wood and Word Blooms, and today we're going to learn how to make a lovely little beaded farmhouse wreath. This one comes with ribbon. Some kits are without ribbon, but you could always add a ribbon, so I will show you how to do that. So here's what we need for supplies today. So to start off, you're going to need your bead wreath. This is the kind that already has the beads attached. It's 10 inches. You can find these bigger. You can also make them yourself if you'd like to do a larger one. You're going to need your greenery. You're going to need your fillers. You will need your flowers, and then either wire or twine. And then of course you will need your stems, a glue gun and glue sticks, and maybe a pair of scissors and wire cutters. Today I'm using these monsters, but you can use regular little wire cutters as well. Anything you happen to have in your toolbox or around your house will work just fine. We're not cutting a ton of wires today. So to get you started, I'm going to take the camera down so that I can show you a more close-up view of what we're going to be doing. So the first thing is, on these particular wreaths, you're going to find a spot where it is glued together and it's not loose. So here's all the loose ones, and here's the glued together parts, just like this. This makes a great spot for your base where you're going to be wiring and putting things on. So I'm going to want to make sure that is at the bottom of my arrangement just to make things a little bit easier and I have a nice starting reference point. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to wire my greenery onto the arrangement. So I've got two kinds of greenery. You've got some eucalyptus, and yours might look like this or a little bit different. And then you will have some ruscus or maybe some spiral eucalyptus as well. So I'm going to cut a couple pieces of this one off just because I didn't do that already. And you don't need a real long stem, just a little bit will do. These are some toughies. And yours might already be separated into smaller pieces. If you have the ruscus, the other type of ruscus, you actually can push the pieces of greenery up. These ones are permanently attached. But if you have the kind where you can push the greenery up, then you really get to kind of shape and mold that greenery however you want to for your arrangement. So for this one, my greenery kind of stays in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some bundles, and then we are going to wire these bundles to the wreath, and then we're going to slide our flowers in, add a little glue, and add some fillers and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to take a piece of my greenery. If you've got extra greenery, you can do 2 pieces of the eucalyptus, and then you can kind of layer in your ruscus or your second type of greenery as well. So I'm just making this little bundle kind of like this. I like to bend it along the shape of the wreath and get a sense of maybe where that's going to be, and if that feels like too much greenery or if that feels like the right amount. I think I'm going to move one of my pieces of eucalyptus down a little bit lower. And this will be more like the center piece. Yeah, I like this direction better. So I'm going to slide this one down a little bit there. And then I'm going to find a spot where I can wire together. So I'm going to wire my first 2 pieces just so that they stay. And I kind of like the pattern I got going on there. So you can use your wire or you can also use your twine. And you just need a little piece. It doesn't need to be anything huge because we're just going to wire the initial piece together. What's important is that I'm not wiring where it's just going to be at the bottom and it'll slide off. I want to make sure I wire a little bit in between some pieces of greenery. So I'm going to slide my wire in. And sometimes that's the hardest part of the whole thing. So I kind of move my pieces of greenery out of the way, lay it down, hold it right where it was, and then real tight I twist. And I twist it around a couple times. And then my secret is I like to wire it one more time. So I might come up a little bit higher on the piece or add another piece of the greenery in just so it locks in place. And again, I'm just going to twist that little piece, wire it together, and we're kind of good to go. You can cut your ends off, you can tuck them in, whatever works for you. I've got this extra piece here that I really don't need, so I'm going to cut that off so that my pieces are about the same and kind of bend them in that direction. So now I'm going to wire them on just yet. I want to create my other little bundle next. So I'll use this one. And I've got my other piece of ruscus here. And just kind of bundling together. Let's see. You could put some fillers in now, but I prefer to wait till the end. Yeah, so let me get a sense just where that needs to be. And same thing, I'm just going to take a real little piece of the wire. I'd say this is maybe, let's see how long it is. I'd say it's about maybe 3 inches. And same thing, I'm going to wire it through so that I get a couple pieces of greenery in here. It's got good hold. I moved it when I did that, so make sure. So I realized I didn't wire on the main stem. That's an important thing. So I'm going to come back around now, and I'm going to make sure I wire around the main stem so that it really holds tight, not just the side stem. So again, I'm just twisting this around, and you can see maybe just a little twist right in there. And that piece is pretty good to go. So I've got this on. I can still usually adjust a little bit there if I want to. And I get the nice fluffing of the greenery now. So this is where I like to move leaves, right? This is faux greenery, so you can really kind of twist the pieces so that maybe the leaf is in the direction that you want. Trim a piece off if you want to as well. And then I'm going to cut this also so that it's a little bit shorter. I'm kind of good to go there. So I still have a little bit of greenery, and that's okay. I don't necessarily want to add it all on just yet. I'm going to probably sneak this in here, but I want to wire these pieces down and get a sense. So I like to lay everything out. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit so you can see. So I kind of just do a little placement. I take my big main flower. The bottom of this one's got a little bit of extra, so I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to want that one in the center. And I'm going to come out to my other flowers. What I want to make sure is that I don't have the greenery too close together and that there's room for everything. So what I'm sensing is that I actually need to move this apart a little bit and create some space for these main flowers that are going to go right in here. Now I'm liking the distance that we've got. Yep. And I'll have room to add these smaller flowers in, so I think we're pretty good there. So once I kind of have that laid out and I like where everything is, I'm going to either wire, or this time I'm just going to show you with twine to show you the other option of what you can do. So I'm going to cut a piece of twine so that I can tie this right on. Move this one out. And it's the same thing. I want to make sure that I'm kind of going underneath a couple pieces of greenery so that I'm not missing out on anything here. And I'm going to kind of get it where I want it. Flip it over, and the beads will move so that you can have a nice little tight spot to tie this on. And I'm going to knot it. This is not like a bow kind of thing. We're going to knot it real good there. If you're not good at knotting things, you can always go back in later and add some glue, because there'll be some glue that happens too. And I wait to cut all my strings in the end. And then I want to wire it one more time, or I want to do the twine. So I'll show you with a piece of wire just so I can show you the opposite way. Same thing, if there's an extra piece that you can wire under or around, you can do that. You want to make sure to get it nice and tight. Give it a good flip. Hold it in the place there. And in my case, my twine is in my way, but that's okay. Give it a good twist or two, and you can cut that extra wire off now, or you can do it later. So this is on. It's not really going to go anywhere right now, so we're pretty much good to go. So we're going to do the same thing with wiring the other side. Again, leaving that bit of space. Sometimes I almost left actually enough wire on this one. I could almost twist it if I just cut it a little bit longer. But I like the extra pieces just to make sure everything stays on. So cutting a piece of twine, which I'm cutting with my wire cutters, but it's probably easier to cut that with scissors. Again, I'm going to hold it tight in place and flip it over. And then again, I'm going to come in nice and close. Tie a nice knot here. Ooh. Super tight. If you're afraid about this coming out later, I might have cut this piece a little too short. And later you can add a little bit of glue if you want to. Oops. That piece is actually a little short, so I'm going to... It seems to be staying, so maybe we're good. And one more time, this time with the wire. Again, so I'm just showing you it's interchangeable. You can really do either or. It doesn't necessarily matter which. Just make sure you're attacking the main stems here so that they are nice and hunkered down. Give it a flip. Pull it nice and tight, which can be hard because the wire can be a little slippery. And if you don't feel like it's secure enough, you can always do, a second go around as well. All right, so we've got these on, and I got all my extra stuff here in the back that I'll probably cut off in a minute. I feel like it's on there, so pretty securely. And then you can tuck any loose ends in that you might have. as well. You don't want your wreath to be too pokey. Use scissors on my twine. All right. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and add a little bit of greenery in the center. So this greenery has got a real upward shape, so I actually might cut it a little bit so that I have some up and down pieces, or I might make it go sideways. It really just depends on what I'm feeling. So take an extra leaf or two. This is where you can start to cut things apart and see, like, how do I want to shape this? So do I like the idea of having pieces come up? Do I want to keep the sideways momentum, which I think might be nice? I can have a piece going down. So kind of looking at what your options are and where you'd like to put this in, or how you'd like it to be. Knowing we're still going to have some flowers that come in here too. Spin that one around. You can even take it apart more and literally just save a leaf or two and glue them on later as well. So these actually cross right in the center, so I'm going to come in with a piece of wire or a piece of my twine, and I am going to tie them right on in the center here. If you want to add a piece of glue or a little dab of glue now, you can, and then you could tie it on also. It's kind of up to you. When you add the flowers, you're going to add a lot of glue, so you don't necessarily need a ton at the moment. I just want to get these pieces on and then cut the extra twine off. We're good to go here. All right, so base of my wreath is done. It's definitely got some gaps, and that's okay because we have lots of fun flowers and fillers to add as well. So I want to start from the center, and this is a very symmetrical wreath, as you can sort of see. I know this one has a bow. I will tell you that if you are going to add a bow of your own, you want to kind of pre-plan where the bow is going to go, just so that you're saving room for that. But for this one, we're not doing a bow at all. So I've got my basic flower, and you can just glue it on, but I like the extra added element of a little bit of wire, just to make sure. So I've got my piece of wire here, and I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue right on the back of the flower. Then I'm going to gently, twist and push that in just about a 1/2 inch. Nothing too crazy, so it holds, and we're good. This is way more wire than I'm going to need, but it's good just to have that available. So this is going to not actually be my center flower. This is going to be my center flower, so I want to do this one first. Same thing, I'm going to add a little bit of glue, add a little wire, just gently holding. Sometimes you grab a flower on the side. Sometimes you can also pre-poke this first if it's a hard flower to wire, like a toothpick or something with a sharp end can be really helpful. So I'm going to come in here and kind of figure out where exactly do I want this. Before I glue, I'm going to give the wire a twist. So I am now just put the wire straight down. I'm twisting that wire, kind of coming around a little bit. And add a little extra hold to that greenery as well. Bend it back down around the back. And then I'm just going to cut that little extra bit of wire off because I don't need it. There we go. Adjust my greenery however it needs to. And then I'm going to come in. So then that wiring is totally optional. So you don't need to wire it. If you don't want to, you can just glue directly on. But because these beads can move a little bit, I like the extra benefit of that wiring. And then I'm going to come right in underneath, and I'm going to generously glue. Unless I want to see the glue everywhere, so I want to make sure that I'm really gluing kind of where the wire is, where the flower meets the beads, and adding it right there. So now we've got our second flowers. So we're going to come in with our side pieces here. And thinking about just where I want these to be. Same thing. I kind of want to come in. I'm going to actually slide it. There's like some greenery here. I'm going to slide this underneath the greenery for a little extra hold. It might be a little too close to the other flower, so I'm going to scooch it out just a little bit. Yeah, like that. Once I found my spot, hold it tight, and I can either just glue it or I can wrap my bit of wire around. And I'm kind of just pushing it through. If I can't get it all the way around, that's okay. You don't necessarily have to. Hiding it under the leaves. Down and around. There's not enough extra. I'm actually just going to tuck the extra in there so you're not going to see it much. And then we're going to add some glue. If you have a little petal breakage like I just did because I was being clumsy with my hands, you can actually just break that petal off. And then I'm going to come in, making sure, again, to lift up the leaves. I want to glue underneath everything where it all meets. Glue that stem a little bit. That's okay, too. And hold it down. So now we've got 2 flowers in. The flower's kind of angled down a little bit, and I want to fix that. So I'm going to come in and adjust before everything kind of cools off. Move my leaves however I need to move them. And there we go. Now, my little side flowers, you can do differently. So these ones can get a little bit of a wire, and then you can actually kind of slide them in sideways. So I'm going to put a little bit of a wire on. And I also want to say that you can just directly glue as well. So I'll show you that possibly in a second as well. So I'm going to take this one, and the flower can face up, or I might just bend the wire a little so that this flower will kind of face out just a smidgen as well. And do the same thing with my other one. Like this. Little wire. All right, so these flowers, I kind of want to get an idea of where I'd like them to be. And I probably don't need these stems this long, but I want to just play around with it first a little bit. So we're kind of seeing, like, does it fit? Can I slide this underneath right in along where we were wiring before? Yeah, the stem's a little bit long. So I'm going to recommend probably cutting your stems a little bit shorter on these, just so you have some space to play. Actually, I kind of want this one up higher. So I'm not going to glue anything yet, so I definitely know it's where I want my flowers. And then I will tackle this with some glue. You could put these flowers in, these little ones, when you're doing the bundles in the beginning as well. So you could kind of wire these flowers right in. So I'm getting like this. I kind of like this vibe here. So since I like where these are, I'm going to be generous with my glue. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of the flower, some glue on the wire, and I'm going to slide this right on in here. Everybody liked it. It's not a bad idea to add, say, another little bit of glue after this is cooled if you feel like you need it. Move the greenery around however you need to. And then same thing here. I'm going to add a little bit, focused more on the back side, but the wire can get it a little bit on both sides. And then I'm going to slide this in kind of where I like it. Move a greenery piece or two around. And so I've got this side done as kind of like the basic part done. So you're going to do the same thing on the other side with your flowers so that you've got that sort of symmetrical feel. If you like, you can even bunch your flowers closer together, so I can sort of show you if you want. You don't have to necessarily even go all the way to the ends. You can play around with what this looks like. So I could come in a little tighter with my flowers like this. Actually, that's really cute. I might switch my idea. In the end, I'm always going to do a little bit of extra gluing because I want to make sure everything holds. And so now that I changed my spot, I pulled it out, I'm going to add a little more glue in. I'm going to come right in here, sneak underneath some leaves so we've got something good to grab onto there. Now we got it. All right, so since I've done one side, I'm now going to imagine I've done the other side and show you what you would do with your fillers. So if you have baby's breath or if you have straw flower, they're a little bit different but very similar. The straw flower isn't going to be on a nice stem like this. There's tiny little individual stems. So you're going to do little bunches of those together, and you can use the floral tape or you can use the wire, whichever you prefer, and you're going to tightly wrap it around. With the floral tape, you're going to do a little pull, and it'll give a little stickiness to it. And you're going to create just little mini bundles. They do not need long stems. You're going to want to cut those pretty short, and you're going to sneak that in. So what I'm looking for is like kind of looking at my wreath at different angles. And this is where if I have some extra leaves, it's a really great idea to come in with some extra leaves. Let me use these ones. And do any kind of coverage that I might need to. So I've just got some little extra leaves that as I'm kind of lifting it up, I can see, oh, I need to add a leaf here. And I can just glue that right in. No one's going to see the back side, but in case anyone's looking towards the top, you're kind of just thinking, where else would I want to cover? You can also cover any spots that are bald with some of the baby's breath or the straw flower. So again, I'm going to just come in and look about like where do I want to break things up? Where do I want to add a little pop of this? And I use little bits kind of all over the place. So I kind of just place and get the idea. And once I like it, I add a little hot glue or a lot, depending on the spot you're putting it in. And then I slide it in making sure that it's connecting to a flower, to a leaf, or to the actual beads as well. If I want a bigger section of this, I can do that too. I always like to make sure that I carry the filler throughout, so I want to make sure I get some higher up on my arrangement as well. Kind of think about all the different spots that the filler would just look super cute in. And then adding more glue if you need it. You don't have to be symmetrical with the filler. You really kind of can like just look and see like where do I need something. I'm going to pull this petal off because I just don't like it, and that's allowed to. As long as it's a petal that feels like it can be pulled off. Just a little bit. And my glue gun is dying. This is a rechargeable glue gun, which is great, but it only works for so long. So as I'm coming in, you can see I'm just adding the filler in those little bits, making sure I have some coming out on the ends and around the top. Coming in with little extra, either full leaves are great for coverage on the back side. So if you want to cover some of the mechanics, taking an extra leaf that you don't need or that's hidden, like I've got a leaf back here you can't really see anyway. So if I pull this leaf off, I could actually come in with this leaf and use it to cover something on the back side. So I can come right in here and use this to cover a little bit of the back mechanics, and it'll just pop up a smidgen right there. So I would just glue this right on the bottom on the part that's going to touch the other flower, and then come in, nestle it and hold it there for a second just so it's good. I can come with any other little pieces of leaves as well. I do also love on the ruscus, whatever I did with my ruscus. I hit it. Okay, on my ruscus, another thing that's really good to do, I really did just have it, didn't I? Oh well, it's mysteriously disappeared. So on the ruscus, something I really like to do is take off just a leaf or two. So if you've got a piece of the ruscus, save it. You can literally pull off just individual leaves. These are great for nestling between flowers. These two flowers touch, and it might be real cute to add that little leaf right there in between to break them up. So all I would do is add a little bit of glue on this, slide it in, which is hard to do backwards, and you'd be good to go. You can add a couple leaves on the bottom or on the back to cover mechanics as well, if you like to cover the wires or cover the twine. So as you can see, putting this wreath together is really about your design aesthetic. You can keep it as a wreath that's very symmetrical. You could do an asymmetrical wreath where you actually have just maybe a little couple flowers, a bundle down here, and a lot of greenery coming out one side. And once you've got it done, you can decide, do I want to hang it on the diagonal, hang it like this, maybe even from the top as well. There's all the pieces I didn't glue in. So it's up to you however you would like to put your wreath together. So good luck crafting with your wreath at Wreath. Absolutely reach out if you have any questions. I'd love to help you out or provide some feedback. Happy crafting and have a great day.